Hello, everyone. This is Kristen Redmond, Astrological Intuitive, and today we are going to go over the planetary influences that make up the landscape of 2024 and what a year it is really set to be. Now, we kind of say that every year, don't we? It's a new year, but this is a little bit different here. What we have is a major shift and change that's happening on a global scale with Pluto leaving the sign of Capricorn and moving into an Aquarius. Now, this is a big deal, right? Because Pluto was the furthest planet out there in the solar system. And for Pluto to make a revolution around the sun, it takes 250 of our years, where we take 365 days to go around the sun. It's 250 of our years to equal one revolution. And because it takes so much time, Pluto in astrology is known as the planet of transformation because transformation is often a very long process. And what's going on with this, right, is that Pluto landed in Capricorn back in 2008. And it's been there transiting and transforming. And what Capricorn deals with is all of the structures as we know it under our feet. It completely has transformed the landscape of those, hasn't it? When Pluto went in, it was the financial crisis of 2008. Here it is leaving at the tail end of COVID, right? And in that in between time, Pluto, with its microscopic ways that it looks into the details and where the cracks of things are, sees where those structures have failed us. Big government falls into Capricorn. Big pharma falls into that. Media falls into that. Government on city level all the way up. The structures in our own lives, in our own families. Um, Big business, corporations, all of these things, right? We look at all of the big shifts and changes that have happened. And why these things happen is because Pluto looks at what's outdated and doesn't work anymore. Maybe these things worked for a while, but we've reached a point where Pluto goes, this is not beneficial to anybody anymore, except for the big, powers that be, but it's not beneficial for us. And as it leaves, we see where that restructuring process has happened. Now we've torn all these things down, but now we need to rebuild and we rebuild into what is new. And that's what Aquarius is all about. It's about new. It's about becoming authentic to where we are now, not the old outdated beliefs, but where we are now. And we have all heard of that dawning of the age of Aquarius situation, right? This is it. This is happening, folks. This is happening now. And we really got a preview of it last year when Pluto kind of dipped its toe into Aquarius for a tiny minute halfway through the year, and then it retrograded and it's gone back, and now it's finally landing in Aquarius for good. And as it does that, it wants to be freed of the tyranny. Uranus that rules Aquarius, when I talk, they're going to be interchangeable here, everybody, okay? They don't like rules. They don't like these structures. They want things to be new, right? And so when we have Pluto moving into it, it says this is the end of the era of tyranny and rule, and we're ready to begin this next phase where technology can advance, where all of these things can advance, where we as humans can advance as well too, and live in a time, right, where we can be free to be who we are. You have to admit, for as much upheaval as there has been with all the movements over the years, that ultimately what it's trying to do is to get people to be at a better understanding, to be sympathetic and understanding of their fellow mankind, right? Mankind, womankind, whatever it is, right? To be understanding, accepting, and tolerant, where these things, even 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, were still very hush hush and hidden. Now Aquarius is letting all of us kind of step into the skin that we're supposed to be. The last time that Pluto, in its 250-year cycle, moved into Aquarius was at the American Revolution. Now think of that. Here we are trying to break free from Britain, right? That is a time frame when there was massive revolution and a great change in our in our country, right? But then the rebirth happened and the establishing of the new foundation under our feet, right? The time before that was back in the 1500s, right? When we had um, Henry VIII breaking away from Rome. So we have Britain getting away from Rome and all of these things where England goes through a transformation then as well too, and the massive upheaval that that causes. So we look at where we're at now and it's just the matter of history repeating itself, but it's not going exactly the same way. It takes on a new energy. And we all have that purpose to create what it is we want to be. Aquarius is very forward thinking. And now we all have this ability to really be the co creators of what the future holds. We now hold power thanks to the internet, which is very Aquarian Uranus based, to have even the smallest voices be heard and to have people follow that. We never had that before, but thanks to all of these advances that are happening in technology, that's part of this trend, right? And as Pluto goes through, I think we're going to see it on all different levels, right? From big, like we just discussed, all the way down to personal, all the way down to personal. Pluto is transforming us to be our authentic selves and coming out. We have the landscape to do it now where we never did before. We have the ability to really come together and be ourselves, to be accepted for who we are. Let's do it, right? So everybody may be feeling this push for a caterpillar to a butterfly moment, right? Really reconfiguring who you are, what matters to you, and where you want to be. That's all kind of part of the deal with it here. That's huge. That's going to be happening for the next 20 years. So here we are on the precipice of it starting. Now, where that hits your chart, I would, well, for one, I would definitely look in your specific birth chart to see where this planetary alignment is heading and how it's impacting and transforming you. And I have a link below if you'd like to do a reading by Zoom with me. But each sign is impacted because it's such a slow moving planet that it will make a difference on each sign. And I go into detail on all of my videos in the playlist here for your specific sign. Be sure to look at your sun, your moon, and your rising. Your sun is your essence of who you are. Your moon is your subconscious and your emotional inner landscape. And the ascendant is your personality in the world and how you are in the world. Those are the three cornerstones of who we are. So it's interesting to see how it's impacted on each one. But so we have that is the baseline, right? Shift and change. Change is the name of the game. And we all just have to be um understanding of the change. The more that we resist, the more that things persist, right? Isn't that how the old adage goes? And so we want to make sure that we are open, right? The Aquarius likes things to be open and free, and we need to be open and fluid to these changes as they come. Now, with that, another major event that we have this year is Jupiter, where it takes 12 years to go around the sun, has been transiting through the sign of Taurus. Taurus has been blown up since 2018 going into 2020 because Uranus, that planet of unexpected things that creates that upheaval that we just talked about with Aquarius, has been going through Taurus. Now, Taurus, this takes 80 years for Uranus to go around the wheel. So when Uranus was last in Taurus was during the Great Depression. Taurus deals with the economy, it deals with the healthcare system, it deals with the physical body, of course, it deals with all things financial and all things that we hold of value, including our own self-worth. The last time it was there was during the Great Depression. Look at the upheaval caused then. And then it comes back in, and guess when it lands? March 20th, 2020. It finally goes in right when the pandemic hits. And look at the crazy upheaval that Uranus has brought in that time frame, and it leaves finally last year. So Taurus has been getting a whole shakeup anyway. And if you yourself are a Taurus or you have Taurus in your chart, you have been going through a massive transformation as well too, wanting to adapt to the new and no longer hold on to the old structures, beliefs, and systems any longer, personal all the way up. So here we go. Jupiter is going through Taurus now as well too, and it kind of amplified all of that. And I think that's why last year was kind of a little bit excessive at times with all of these things, because we are reaching the light at the end of the tunnel with all of this. And of course, it's always darkest before dawn. So Jupiter magnifies, it has a way to magnify, but it also has a way to bring amazing blessings. So that's part of this trend that's going to continue through the first half of this year, is Jupiter going through Taurus, really trying to expand us, helping us to recognize our financial situation, our health situation, and where we need for it to be, right? And where technology plays a role in that, because Uranus is very technologically based. And we're seeing all the advances that are happening now that, quite frankly, wouldn't have been there without the pandemic, right? Absolutely. So here we are, and we're looking at these things, and Jupiter likes to bring us lucky breaks. So there may be some pretty good financial situations here on all different fronts for people. And then Jupiter's going to be moving into Gemini in the middle part of the year, and that happens from May 25th until June 9th of 2025. And as it does that, Gemini has to deal with our conscious mindset, right? And so Jupiter is the planet of optimism, hope, faith in the darkness, right? We can't have miracles happen without faith. We can't trust that we are deserving of these things, those things. It's not going to come. We have to have faith, and we have to have trust in the universe and in ourselves. And where that all happens is in our mindset. And as the planet of optimism, Jupiter comes through Gemini, we all kind of start to adapt to a more optimistic mindset, which I think is fantastic because of the pessimism that's kind of been blanketing the earth over the past couple of years. There will be an invigoration of that moving forward into this election year, which is so interesting, isn't it? When you think with all the planet, the Pluto influence, isn't it amazing that when we have this chance to completely rebuild America and the other nations, look at all these things that are happening in the various nations around us, we are going into an election year. And so we just need to be positive and optimistic. Our mindset needs to be optimistic, that maybe whoever it is that takes office may not be the one that we think will do it, but they ultimately will be part of this expansion that was put into plan well before any of our ancestors landed on Earth, right? We have to have faith and trust that things will move forward, right? And it's not just about moving forward, it's moving forward in the most challenging of situations. And I would bet everybody watching would agree that this time frame that we're in is probably one of the most difficult, right? That has been in recent history, of course. Now, back to the Taurus thing, right? One thing that it's going to be doing, Jupiter moving through Taurus, remember we were talking about that, and Uranus has been through Taurus. The two of them are going to align. Jupiter, the planet of luck, opportunity, growth, expansion, belief, faith, all of that is aligning with the unexpectedness of Uranus. This happens April 20th, and this is a once every 12-year event. Now, what that is going to bring is some breakthroughs and surprises. I guarantee that. You never know what to expect with Uranus. This planet, most planets, they'll, stop and they'll go retrograde. This planet will actually go out of orbit, and it does it in ways we never know when it's going to happen. That's why in astrology it takes on that kind of free spirit weirdo energy of doing whatever it is it wants to do, because it doesn't like to be confined in these things. And we all feel that now too. So there's breakthroughs, there's surprises that come with this, and those are magnified by Jupiter. Could be bad, could be good. Ultimately, whatever it is, these things are a turning point, right? They bring things to light that need to change. And I think one of the great things about it too is that Taurus represents our comfort zones, right? And this type of breakthrough helps really break us out of those stagnated old comfort zones. Pay attention to what's happening in that time frame, because we're also dealing with moon cycles at that time as well too. So we need to be aware that things are going to come to the surface. It's not like something we have to sit and ponder on. The universe is going to make it very plainly known to us what needs to shift and change in our life. in order for this new to begin. And Jupiter helps to expand us into that. So pay attention to that time frame and just accept the unknown. Like we said before, the more we resist, the more it persists. So it may not be comfortable, but that's exactly why we're going through all this, to break away from it, to break away from the comfort of the old, because the new is so much more fitting. It's just so much more fitting, even though we don't know what it is now, right? We have plenty of time to reassess our mindset through this year, because Mercury, the planet of the mind and thought, retrogrades in all of the fire signs this year. So when that happens, it's interesting because it's about being logical. It's about, well, not logical, that's wrong. It's about acting on the things that we think. It's about making the changes. Instead of just thinking, it's about doing. Fire is very much of an action energy. So when we have the planet of the mind going into those, we are thinking of ways to make these changes, and we're ready to have the confidence and the courage behind us to make them, right? We have the confidence and the courage to say the things we need to, right? Because that's part of Mercury as well. It's not just what we're thinking, it's what we're saying. It's what we're thinking of ourselves and saying of ourselves to others. It's what we're thinking and we're saying to others. It's all of these things. We're finding the power and the fire of our words, and we're having the ability to say things that maybe are more difficult that we haven't been able to before, right? That's something to keep in mind as well too. The Mercury retrogrades, let me tell you the dates. You know, I thought I had it here, but I don't. Well, shoosh. I have to do the old lady thing and lick my finger. All right, here we go. We have December 12th of 2023, and then it ends on New Year's Day. So we kind of start the year out already getting out of retrograde. We're already looking to the past as this new year begins on how we want to make the shifts and the changes. It's in Sagittarius, which is Jupiter ruled. We're thinking optimistically. We're ready to move forward. That's what Jupiter does. That's what Sagittarius does. It moves us forward from where we've been limited. So we're already starting the year out on that good note. Then we go April 1st to April 25th is going to be the next one. That one's in Aries. Really looking back on how your needs are being met and if you're asking for them to be met. Mercury goes retrograde again August 4th to August 28th. That's going to be the Leo time frame. That's when we're really going to be looking to the past for how critical we are of ourselves, the words that we say to ourselves. We're also going to be looking at it from the shadow side. Are we focused mentally, right? Mercury, more on our own lane and not being mindful of the ones around us? Because on the shadow side, Leo can be selfish, right? So Mercury will have us looking to that as well. And then we end the year out November 25th and it ends on December 15th. Thank God. This is the first year in like 3 years that we haven't had a Mercury retrograde at the beginning of the year. I'm feeling very positive and optimistic about that. Because it does slow things down. You know, Mercury retrograde does slow things down. It's not a good time to travel. It's not a good time to, I mean, emails get lost, phone calls get dropped. Anything that's electronic, it's all janked up in the system. Letters don't send in the mail. It's just, that's just part of Mercury retrograde, right? I think it gets a bad rap, though. People are like, I can't go out of my house because Mercury's retrograde and I'm gonna die and I can't get married, or you can do anything you want. These, I know I say this rules this rules that, but that's just the ancient astrology talk. Nothing rules us but ourselves, right? So really truly, you can do anything you want. Just when Mercury is retrograde, make sure you read the fine print more before you sign your name on something. Make sure that you are sending that email twice because it probably didn't get through. Things like that. You know, follow up on stuff. That's all it's really asking us to do. But nothing ever limits us in life. I hate when people are like, well, I can't do that because Mercury's retrograde. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can do anything you want. Like, so those are going to be the major ones. Now, the other thing that we have, of course, this year is the eclipses. Eclipses are big, right? In the world of astrology, that's what I, as an astrologer, look to, is where the eclipses are hitting in my client's chart to see where the new beginnings are happening. Because you think of it like the tides, right? It draws out the old cruddy, yucky, bleh, and it brings in the new with the tide, right? And so that's basically on a certain level, that's what eclipses do in our lives. So I look to see what house that's hitting in somebody's chart, and I go, oh man, your relationship house is going through this right now because of the eclipses. So yours, of course, will be pertaining to your own chart. If you want to look for your sign, you can watch all my videos below, please do. But these eclipses this year in general, right? We're wrapping up the 10-year cycle now, where they work in these 10-year intervals, and it started last year. We have the Aries, Libra, eclipses that are happening. So of course this is going to impact our Aries and our Libra friends the most out there, because new beginnings are trying to come in your life, but old has to go in order for the new to begin. But it hits all of us, right? On this level of the self being Aries, yourself, your needs, what it is that you want, and relationship over here with Libra, and balancing the scales and all of that. So that has been a theme in this, finding compromise, whether it's in romantic relationships, in the world, right? It's understanding that everybody has a view, everybody has needs, and everybody has a right to have them met and to have them heard, right? But we have to make concessions, right, to make that happen, and vice versa, right? And vice versa. We just have to be accepting of that. And so you may find that relationship issues have really bubbled up in the past year, and maybe they'll continue to do so throughout this year. But it's about finding what makes you happy and what it is you need on Aries, and what it is you can do to make sure that you're vocalizing that, because Libra is an air sign, so it's all about vocalizing what it is that you want, your expectations, your needs, and what you're willing to do to compromise and what you're willing to not compromise to make it work anymore. So we have those happening, right? We have March 25th is the Libra one. We have April 8th is the Aries one. We have a little one out of there, and this is September 17th. That's the Pisces one. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then we have October 2nd, which is Libra as well. But with that Pisces eclipse, we're getting ready to go into the next phase, where it hasn't been 10 years since we've had the Virgo Pisces ones, and that's going to be dealing more with what we envision life to be and how we bring that into reality. We'll get a little bit of a glimpse of that September 17th when that Pisces eclipse hits. But for the most part, those are the major planetary influences for this upcoming year. I highly recommend you getting a chart reading for yourself so you can see how your personal chart is affected. But know that this is a year where embracing change is the name of the game. And there is a lot of testing, I think, that happens with all of these events. But ultimately, they all have us looking at what brings us happiness, what brings us fulfillment, and what makes us feel like we're the most true, authentic version of ourselves. Because we are all going through a transformation together, and we know transformation is not easy. It's a painful process, but we all are going through it together, right? So we can do it, and we'll come out and emerge as little butterflies, won't we? Yes. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful 2024.